Welcome to the Born for Greatness podcast. I am joined today with special guest Jason Balara from Lark Capital. Jason, thank you for joining me.
Oh no, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I'll apologize like I did to you for my froggy voice, but I'll do my best and not coughing through this whole thing.
No worries. I was fortunate enough to be on your podcast, which was so much fun. And so here we are, role reversal today.
I know. It's fun. I had a blast having you on. So I'm really looking forward to this talk.
Well, thank you. So you have some exciting stuff going on in your life. I have been paying attention to kind of what you've been up to. So do you want to give everyone kind of what you were doing and then the new and exciting stuff?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, my what I was doing, I mean, my background is I'm a veterinary surgeon and I still am. Like that doesn't just, sort of go away. What I think, what you're referring to is I've very recently left my W-2 job. It's been like a week and a half since that ended. And everybody's been congratulating me on that, and I appreciate that. And my shift is to move towards focusing on real estate even more than I already was. In full disclosure, I also have my own side veterinary surgery business, so I'm not completely out of that game, but it will be. I won't work for anyone else. It'll be, kind of, that's the main thing. I don't work for anyone else. I work in my own businesses. So it's, that ability to establish time freedom is essentially what I wanted there. And it's like, as everybody knows who has a W-2 job, you show up when they tell you to, you kind of leave when they tell you to. And it's just, I found it to be an inefficient way to work, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So how long have you been working towards getting out of your W-2 and moving on to just doing your own thing?
I mean, like with that goal in mind, 2 or 3 years probably. It's been, I mean, 2 years is probably the better, more accurate. I think I've always had a thought of owning my own business, maybe opening my own practice, something like that. Along ever since I got into vet school, I thought being the business owner would be better, and that's why my side surgery business kind of made sense to go to focus on growing that if I want. But also I don't even necessarily need to grow that because I'm going to grow my real estate business even more. So it's kind of like I can find that balance of which is, where I'm doing everything in the capacity that I want to.
That's awesome. So what got you started in real estate?
Growing up poor. I think growing up in a situation with a single mom where we had we always moved. We moved probably yearly at least through most of my life until high school. And we had, looking for a more affordable place to live, basically. And so always living in apartments. I don't know why I cared that we didn't own it. Maybe just because we moved all the time. And I thought if we owned it, we wouldn't move. My grandparents have been in the same house like since I was born, I think well before that. And so it was kind of like, to me, that was the picture of a home. Like that's where childhood memories of going there for holidays and stuff like that. And so maybe that's what it was. But ultimately, when I got out of college, I really kind of wanted to buy a house. Like when I was moving out from living with my parents, I wanted to buy a house. I didn't want to go to apartments. And so with that in mind, and that was, I bought my first house in 2000. And so I was 25. I didn't have any money. It was when they would give anybody a mortgage. And so I was able to buy a house. I honestly can't remember if I put anything down. I just bought a $99,000 house that needed all of the work. And I was like, I'll figure it out. I didn't know anything about, what to do, but I was like, I'll figure it out. I'm not afraid of working hard. And so I bought that house. I learned a lot about construction and renovations on that house. I hired a contractor to help me with a few things. He liked me. He hired me to work for him. So it was like things like that. I just started working for a contractor. My mom dated an electrician for a while. I worked for him. Like always enjoyed the trades. And so my start in real estate was, to me, was then, whatever that, however, 22 years ago, I guess, like was
right.
in what people now call like house hacking and live-in flips and all that. Like I've been doing that for forever because I was trying to survive and be able to pay the mortgage. So
exactly. Yeah.
it was like out of necessity. But then, back right at the start of COVID, for whatever reason, I thought I need to do something that I can scale. And that's when I really started to dig in on syndication, which is what I'm doing now.
That's awesome. I've heard this, it seems to be like a common thread of kids growing up with single moms and having this passion later on in life for real estate. So that's very interesting. Let's see, I've got 3. One of the 3 will get into real estate. It'll be interesting, but okay, cool.
It just teaches you, I don't know, like I think it teaches you grit, survival, whatever the case may be, that it's like, okay, listen, like we're very we're fortunate right now. Like I could have gone on being a veterinary surgeon, no problem, right? We would have been able to take care of my family. This isn't a money thing for me. It's more of it's all about time freedom, and it's all about kind of ownership, I guess, which is maybe that's my way of rebelling against what things were like when I was a kid, is not having ownership, so who knows, but I'm sure there is something to that, single mom, if the single moms are raising their kids right, which it seems most of them are, then that's probably a good sign for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. You said something interesting though, which people used to, I think, associate like freedom as in it has to be some form of financial freedom. But I think true freedom comes from having time, because we have so little time now. So I think that's very interesting that you mentioned that, because I know for me, that's been a big thing. Like I wanted time, just time in general, just as a single mother, I was working 2 jobs, trying to make ends meet, and that's not freedom. And a lot of us don't, you don't necessarily have the opportunity, but real estate is such a great way to create that freedom, both financial and time. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and back on, that's it. My mom, she worked as a waitress. Like she did what she could to
of course,
pay the rent every month. That was it. Like she did everything she could. And so it was, I think, it's just, I see her now, and now she's at retirement age, and she doesn't have any retirement savings or anything like that. It was all just to survive. So, maybe that's why some of us kids of single moms do this, because I also see this as a way that I'll be able to take care of my mom if and when she needs me to. So it's just kind of a way to give back, or just like, again, have that freedom to do whatever it takes to, kind of set my family up for the future, take care of my mom, like, I don't know, bridge the gap, whatever that bridge that gap of care, I suppose.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really sweet. So, Lark Capital, where did that name come from?
I guess you would say it's an acronym, because it is when we're tossing around names. And so the business itself, I have a business partner. He's a bit of a silent partner. He just wanted to give me money and let me go to work and grow it.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's a good type of partner to have.
Yeah, right.
So it's L is for my son Logan, A is for my daughter Ava, which, by the way, she was born after Lark was formed, so we had to come up with an A name to fit in within Lark, because I didn't want her to feel like she was left out. So I told my wife that she could come up with anything, LAR or K, for her name. R is Reed, that's my business partner, and K is Casey, my wife. So it's There's no
Oh,
J. J doesn't fit in a lot of words very easily. So it just, to me, it symbolizes it's not about me. It's about family. So that's really where the name came from.
that is so cool. How awesome is that? I love it.
Yeah. I'll never
That's
change
very
the
neat.
name. It means a lot to me. I'll never change the name. I think it's my uncle is a graphic designer. He did the logo. Like there's a
Oh,
lot of
that's
it
so
to me
cool.
that means a lot. It'll never be a different, like I wouldn't like switch the company or something like that just because of the meaning behind it. So it's even if we stopped we stopped doing real estate, this is in
Right.
my heart. So that's important to me.
Oh, that's so cool. Um, so I had a young gal. I was at an appointment and she overheard me talking about what I do for work. And so she asked me a little bit more about it. And I feel like that's something like when kids are going to college, they're not focused on how can I get into real estate. And I think a lot of people think real estate, oh, that means you sell houses. And that's like, like when you're young, I mean, that's certainly what I equated real estate to. Like that was it. Um, so you go to school, while you were in college to be a vet, did you have in the back of your mind already, like, I'm going to get into some form of real estate? Like, was that always kind of floating around in the back of your head or?
I mean, I was already, like, I guess technically I was already doing it because I had to work my way through college and high school, or sorry, college and vet school, and like
Mhm.
all, so I was already doing the house hacking, the live-in flips. Like I was working for other
Got it.
people. Like I, even when I was in vet school and stuff, I had people knew that I was handy and knew how to fix things. And I had,
Mhm.
other friends in vet school, my mentors. Hey, can you come over and help me, fix my
Right.
basement, like build something in my basement? Sure. Like, so I was I always considered it, I was in construction. I guess I didn't really look at it as real estate
Mm,
investing. Now it's like you listen to Bigger Pockets, and Brandon Turner was telling everybody like start with a house hack. And it's like
right.
I never called it that, but I was doing that exact thing 20 years ago when I bought my first house. Like I had roommates because that's how I could pay the mortgage. So it's just kind of um I think that's what I was sort of always doing. So yes, I guess the answer to the question is yes. I had it in my mind while I was going through that stuff. I never had syndication in my mind. That I didn't know what that was until 3 years ago. Like couldn't have told you what it meant, how it worked, any of it for until a few years ago.
So what got you started in that? Was there somebody who you knew and was a mentor to you, or?
No, it was podcasts.
Hmm,
Was I had gotten to so basically what happened is we finished renovating the house we live in. So
okay.
I ran out of projects. Basically that's it. And I'm
Awesome.
not good at sitting around being, sort of I
Me either.
I'm not, what's it, idle hands is the devil's playground, something like
Yes,
that. For
yes.
me, it's like if I'm sitting around it's not good. So I I got into listening to Bigger Pockets podcast, and it's the funny thing is like, again, I listened to them like great, always with the thought of really what I thought was I was going to do single family, like long-term rentals, basically like start to build a portfolio of long-term rentals and single family, because I was reading a lot of books. I had read David Green's book on long distance investing, because I live in California. It's not like having rentals here isn't particularly good for cash flowing. So I started thinking about,
Right.
where else would I do that? And
Hmm.
I heard a podcast on syndication, and I was like, wait a minute. And I just, because in my head I was like, I thought, well, in my head I arbitrarily 100 houses. That's what I thought. Like if I got to 100 houses, then I would be good. That would be all I need to do. And then I just started like listening, reading, and it was like, that's going to be hard to manage. 100
Right.
houses, like about the country, that people do it and they do a great job, but it's going to be hard to manage. And I was going to create more of a job for myself.
Hmm.
And I was really looking for that time freedom. And so when I heard about syndication and the ability to sort of, you have property managers, and I was like, wait, you can buy 100 doors all at once, like one transaction and you're there, kind of
Right.
thing, right? And so it was just I worked through the progression, I guess, in my mind. A lot of people they do it. They like, okay, I'm
Right.
gonna buy a few singles. So I kind of worked through the progression in my mind. Then I got a mentor, and that's how I made that transition and learned about it. And it's true what they say, you just have to start doing at some point. So that was kind of the way it worked for me. Like I listened to enough of the podcasts to hear all the people that, like, everybody ended up doing that step. Not everybody, but a lot of people ended up going that way. I will say it's not at all passive. It's still another job. Like it's there is still a lot involved in it. I think some of those podcasts, the people that are promoting, definitely maybe undersell just how much work it can be, but that's where it comes into like building teams and stuff like that. So it's more of a business, I think, than if I was to have a couple single family rentals or be doing flips or something like that. So it's figuring out how to really run and scale a business.
Awesome. So do you have any advice for someone who's looking to like get involved with syndication?
Yeah, I think it depends, I guess, if you're looking to be on the passive side or on the active side, right? The passive side is basically easy, right? You don't have to, you invest your money, you don't have to do anything, and you get returns in for the use of your money. You should vet the sponsor. That's the important thing, but you don't necessarily have, you're not managing things. People wanting to get into syndication, I think it does, you need to do it. You need to get in there. I found that the easiest way to get into it, I think there's probably two easier ways, or not easy, but the two quickest ways to get into it is either be someone who can find deals. So work on acquisitions, make broker relationships, go out there and kind of be able to find a deal and bring it to other people. And then the second thing would be if you somehow have a network that you think you could raise capital from, or even start building a network that you think you can raise capital from, start talking about it, get educated, that kind of thing. I think the mentorship programs, there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of really good ones. There's probably some that are not so good. So just being careful as to getting what you want to out of it, and just from my own, coming from someone who was very much a DIY person, it's not DIY. It is truly a business. And so if you're looking for DIY, syndication is probably not your thing, and you'll have to figure out how it cannot be your thing, because that's been one of my struggles, is that DIY mentality. And it's like, no, I gotta figure out how to delegate, let other people do parts, kind of, and divide up the work.
Yeah, I think that's great that you let people know that, because you're right. I think sometimes when you hear different people talk about syndication and you just think all of it's passive, and okay, let me get involved in that, and then I just see something happening on the side. But
there's a lot of sponsors, syndicate, the general partnerships have people working very, very hard. So it's not passive on that end. And I mean, and that's why you get paid for it. Like, it's not free work. So there's, when people, if you're talking to passive investors and they're like, why are there these fees, or what, how does this all work? That's the reason. It's because it's basically a full-time job to run these properties. Even you're not on site, but you're still running all the operations as an asset manager, or you're raising the capital, or you're just hunting down deal after deal. So there's some component of it that is going to be a lot of work.
Awesome. Well, that's very helpful. So your podcast just reached 100 episodes, right? Not that long ago. Yeah. That's so awesome. So what made you want to start doing a podcast?
I didn't want to. I didn't want to at all.
Love it.
I was really quite terrified. So I guess what made me do it was two things. One, the like everybody talks about needing to have a thought leader platform, some way of, you know, getting yourself out there, creating content. And at first I was like, no chance I'll do a podcast, but I don't really feel like I'm a great writer. So a blog didn't seem to be the right thing to me. And I also am introverted and I'm not good at the networking side of syndication, which is like an important part of it. And I felt like this was my opportunity, because I love the conversations. Like these one-on-one conversations are great. I don't have to sit here and think like, oh, somebody's going to listen to this. I just, I like the conversation. So the more I thought about it, the more doing the podcast seemed to make the most sense. I also strongly believe in that, you know, sort of concept of get comfortable being uncomfortable. And so I was like,
I love that one.
I was like, I'm going to do something, and this is the something I'm going to do. And it definitely, pushed me out of my comfort zone. I still don't like listening to the sound of my own voice, but I am embarrassed to listen to the first few episodes of the podcast. I think it has gotten better, I hope. But I just, it's been great. I love it. I love, you know, all the guests like yourself. Everybody's been really gracious, and I am appreciative of the time that people give and stuff. It's very nice to, you know, kind of have that community of people that are willing to, you know, so people come on my podcast sometimes and afterwards they'll be like, what can I help you with? It like, you just did, you did help me, right? You just came on here and helped me have a conversation, helped me learn, you know. So it was just, I don't know, I guess that's probably the real two reasons is, you know, I needed a platform. So 3 reasons: I like the platform, the conversations, and then just pushing myself in some way. You know, also I started all this in the middle of COVID, so there were no live meetups at the time, even if I thought, you know, that's how I'm going to push my comfort zone. But it was that. It was just I didn't want to. I really didn't want. It was something I was terrified of.
Oh, what a great story though. I mean, you didn't want to, you pushed yourself, and now look at where you're at. You've had awesome guests. I love your podcast. I don't know if anyone's ever told you, but you have like a super calming voice. So it's like, oh, okay. Like, you know, like, I love it. So, anyways, that is great. It's such exciting stuff. So if someone wants to learn more about what you're doing, get in touch with you, how do they go about that?
There's a couple, I mean, larkcapital.com is the website. That's an easy way, but probably like the better thing is either just email me, jason@larkcapital.com, or on social media. I'm most active on Instagram. So @LarkCapital is probably LinkedIn, Jason Balara. I'm on all the things.
You're on all the
probably
things.
Don't do Facebook, honestly, because I just, things go to Facebook because Instagram's linked to them. I'm not good at like doing things on Facebook. So I use Instagram pretty actively as like my main social media site.
Okay, that's great. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you again for being my guest. I so appreciate you taking the time. And as always, it's been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you. Loved it. It was great talking to you.
All right. I look forward to seeing everyone on the next episode.